Legal settlements. New Yorker Magazine, in their infinite wisdom, has declared that Jewish settlements in Judea and Samaria are illegal. And this is the opinion of Barack Obama, as well as Jimmy Carter, and some other great intellectual luminaries. So I wish to examine with you what makes a settlement legal or illegal. Is New York a legal settlement? Do the original settlers, the original indigenous population, do they agree that people should live in New York at their expense, or should they be paying them tribute or taxes or rent? Tell me, the original settlers in California, in Los Angeles, they were not white men, or black men for that matter, or Hispanics. They were Native Americans, commonly called American Indians. Do they want white men, black men, Hispanics living in their land without paying them rent? Tell me, how did Texas become part of the United States? Do you think that all the indigenous population decided that they wanted to become part of the American government? Of course not. There was a war, and the Americans won. And that's how we wound up with over 3 million square miles, now 3.6 million square miles of territory that is American, the United States of America. Most of it was gotten not by the power of persuasion or purchase. Most of it was gotten by either guile or outright thievery, backed up by guns. That's the reality. How do you think England became England? How do you think France became France? Today, what was Eastern Germany before World War II, between World War I and World War II, what was Eastern Germany, known as Prussia, was annexed by Poland. And about half of Eastern Poland was taken over by the former Soviet Union. Never given back, by the way. There are huge masses of land that belonged to Japan and was confiscated by Russia in the last days of World War II. Not months or years, but days, right before the Japanese surrendered. The Russians declared war on Japan and confiscated islands in the North Pacific. Did they ever give those islands back? No. Did they belong to them at one time? No. Do they have a history there? No. So why is it a legal possession? It's only legal possession because you don't want to stud up with the Soviet Union or the Russians. And the Indians, despite their dreams and spirit and the belief in the Great Spirit, are in no way, shape, or form going to take on these United States of America in pitched battle. They tried it already, and they were massacred, for the most part. And so, what makes legal settlements of the United States of America? Not the will of the people who lived there, but the force of their arms. The biblical land of Israel was designated to belong to the people of Israel, the Jewish people, by no less than God. It certainly was the traditional home of the Jewish people, dating back over 3,700 years. The Jewish people not only had conquest there, they have their ancestors, the bones of their ancestors there. They have the ancient cities there. They have the remains of their temple there. Notwithstanding the denials of the Arabs, the temple is there all there underneath the rubble upon which stands the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We have the walls, we have the dimensions, there are even tunnels underneath those mosques and the Dome of the Rock, which verify that this is the temple area. And so, the area that's so-called West Bank is biblical Judea and Samaria, places that belonged only to the Jewish people, and a history only of the Jewish people, not Arabs, not so-called Palestinians. The so-called Palestinians, by the way, haven't been there for more than 100 years. Most of them came from Tunisia or Syria or Iraq or Egypt or Ethiopia. When the Jewish people started coming back to the Holy Land, jobs became available, and that's where most of those people came in. Very few people owned lands and had settlements in the area called Palestine prior to the return to Zion by the great bodies of Jewish immigrants. The so-called Palestinian people were not indigenous. They're not even related to each other. You can do a DNA study, you'll see. However, the Jewish people who came back to the land of Israel are related by their DNA, even though they may be of different races. The dark-skinned Yemenites have the same DNA as the white-skinned Europeans. I share my DNA with my Jewish Sephardic brothers, who you might look Hispanic, Arab, or even black. So what makes for an illegal settlement? That the people who owned it before are unhappy with you? Well, then give up New York and Los Angeles and Dallas and Chicago. Give up Moscow and London and Paris. But the original settlers of Hebron and Bethlehem and Tel Aviv, at the time Yaffo in the north, Holon, Haifa, Akko, these areas were all inhabited by the people who live there now. Jewish people. They were the original settlers. They got back their land. And the land was given to them by God in the same Bible that President Obama supposedly believes in. If he goes to church and worships there, in that church they quote the Bible. And if he believes in the divinity of that Bible, God said, this land belongs to the Jewish people. So I ask, what is illegal? What is an illegal settlement? Is it New York, Los Angeles, Warsaw, Moscow?